Hey there, it's Sunday morning, and I just released the video on making this fellow here, which is something I made a couple years ago, I think. Well, after I bought this, I made this circle cutting jig earlier version. This new one has a longer tongue that fits in here closer to the cutter, and it also works with the base. The new base that I made that works with the router table, mini router table that I made. Okay, so yeah, it's basically the same as the old one. But I thought I would redo it because I thought it was a good project for a small router like this. The only big difference is that I used, and I don't know why I didn't think of this in the first place, I used wing nuts instead of just hex nuts. You know, the one I had before, you needed a wrench to adjust it, and this one doesn't need that. You just have wing nuts and you tighten those up. And like I said in the video, the major benefit of something like this on a threaded rod like this is you can get really fine adjustments. You know, you can get lots of circle jigs, and some are more complicated than others. I made one a long time ago for my big router, which I hardly ever use anymore since I got this, to be honest. That had a sliding thing with a pin in it. That was more complex. It was also more bulky, right? You know, the advantage of something like this is it's so small, you just throw it in a drawer and it's out of the way, and when you need it, you know exactly where to look for it, right? So, yeah, I thought it was worth doing again. And I had to change it anyway to work with this, and I had to change the base, right? And like, this doesn't compromise it in the table, right? That hole there is not going to make any difference. So yeah, that bandsaw is back on the workbench. I took it off and I moved it over there because I was doing another project here, and I needed the workbench for it. So I moved this over. In the meantime, like, I haven't done anything with it. Like, I haven't done anything new, really. But I did coat the table with water-based polyurethane, and the insert as well, which is kind of stuck in there now. I'll get it out. And I did the handle. Like I talked in the last video, I think it was, about, painting this red so it's more visible. So I did that. Right? And I also coated all these parts here with water-based polyurethane. So I didn't make the release mechanism because that'll be in the next video. I'm doing all that work this week. And barring any problems, I should have that video out next Sunday. Or maybe Monday. I've been watching the releases on Sunday morning to see how many videos are coming out on Sunday morning, so that I don't throw my video down with like 10 or 12 different videos in woodworking field, right? Genre, I guess you could say. And then it'd be lost in that shuffle. So, but this one that I released this morning with the, clickbaity name, I was thinking about that, and I think the original had a straight up name, and it didn't do very well. Right? And there's no guarantees that this one will do any better, although it's starting off pretty good, I gotta say. It's not gonna get the 17 million views that these other ones get, but, if it does pretty good, then I'll be happy, right? It's a struggle to get the views, right? And stay in the game. Because people think it's all about, it's all just about money and that. But, to stay in the game, to stay in people's focus, you have to, be putting out stuff that catches their eyes and, they want to watch. So that's part of it, that clickbaity thing, because it gets more views. Wow, is that ever stuck in there? And it's bothering me. And why is focus in the picture? I don't need focus anymore, actually, so I'm going to get rid of them, I think. The camera I'm using for this stuff here has, it's like laser autofocus for face. So, like, I can move around and it's gonna get right on my face all the time. So I don't have to use focus. And the other stuff, like the action shots in the build video, I'm focusing in manually with that, like with the other camera anyway. Like this one is just for me here. Yeah, I was actually thinking about getting rid of the gantry too, but it's still too handy. It's too handy for this specifically. Although I only really use this for these videos lately, because I'm very rarely showing up in the build videos anymore. As you get older, you know, you get the old man look to you. Right? So you don't have to be an old man, as long as you don't sound like an old man. I don't think I'm there yet with the old man sound. But there's no hiding the appearance. I'm a lot older looking than I was when I started doing this more than 10 years ago. That's for sure. So yeah, I'm going to get back to the bandsaw, get the blade guides done. I'm going to make, see, I'm trying to pull that out again. I'm going to make the insert for here that I talked about, the aluminum one. Also, I'm thinking I have to adjust this table height slightly. When I put the cradle for the trunnions in, I wasn't, like, I eyeballed it with the hole that I had already in the thing. And I think I put it up a little bit too high. So it's actually not on the proper plane. I think it should be maybe 1/16 of an inch lower. So I may adjust that. None of that stuff is glued in. All right, none of the cradle parts. They're all just stacked and screwed in place. So if I need to change that, I can. What else? Cover. Oh yeah, the cover. I was going to make the cover, and I was thinking I would inlay the logo in the top. But then I got to thinking, maybe what if you, like, instead of inlaying the logo, what if you did kind of a cutout representation of the logo, like this thing's going to be 1/4 inch plywood, okay? What if you did the, like, slots, almost like lines, to represent the logo, you know, a series of those, you know what I mean? And I could do those on the CNC. Right? Just, you know, I know that would be open and that some dust could come through there. I don't think it would be much of a problem up here though. Right? All the dust basically gets down the bottom. Not much gets up in the top. So yeah, I was thinking about that. So a few people suggested clear acrylic, and I have it. I could do it, but it'll just get covered with dust like that. As soon as you turn on the saw, it's going to get covered. And it's going to look like poop. So why do it? I've got one other thing I want to talk about, and it's a comment I got on the build video for these clamps right here. Someone asked me if the spring that's inside here is important, right? Do you really need it? Because it adds complications to the build, obviously, right? And, you know, yes, you can build the clamp without it, but what the spring does is it makes it so that this thing works the same. I'm using focus here as my model. Works the same as a regular clamp, and that you just take it and you slide it in place on the thing, and you don't have to do anything else, and you tighten it up. All right, this is very different from my wedge style ones. Not really that much different, but a little bit different. Hold on, I'll get one. Here's one here because I was using it for something else. And with this, you slide it in place and you push the wedge in, and then you tighten it up. Right? And sometimes you have to hold that wedge until it gets enough of a grip. So this one doesn't have a spring, but the other thing it does, after you tighten it up, and here I'll do it with this, right? You tighten this up and you're getting a lot of force on there, yes, but what happens is that wedge locks in there. So you're not going to easily push it out, pull it out. What you have to do instead is bang it on something and it comes out. Right? You don't have to do that with this. This thing works like smoothly all the way through. You tighten it up, you release it, and it moves again. And that's what that spring does. And if you put them together and the spring is not doing that for you, and I had to do it with this one, you can glue a little shim on the spring. Hang on, I don't think there's anything holding the end of this on. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this, but there's a little shim inside here glued onto this one so that that spring puts more pressure. All right, so that's a simple modification you can do if your spring doesn't have enough holding pressure, right? It doesn't need a lot, right? That shim doesn't have to be huge. It should still slide back and forth freely, and when it does slide ahead, it should grip immediately. And that's the idea behind the spring.
What do you know about the torture methods used by the Chinese on the Falun Gong? Method number 1. What's your guess? Water dungeon. Did you guess water dungeon? Number 2 method? Number 2, twisting arm and putting face in feces. Not interested in 2.